Okay. So hello everyone. Good to see you. And this is the Parshat Ki-Teizei. It has the most mitzvot in the Torah, 72 mitzvot. And one of the mitzvot is that you're not allowed to borrow with interest. You're not allowed to lend with interest. You're not allowed to be a participant in this transaction, like to be a witness or to be a guarantor. To facilitate such a transaction, a Jew is not allowed to lend with interest. And this, of course, caused us tremendous grief throughout the ages. The anti-Semites, Shylock, the anti-Semites accused us of the Jews, that the Jews lend with interest, and the Jews were the bankers, the conspiracies, the Jews, the Rothschilds and the Jews, and usury. So what is it? What's the problem with lending with interest? Why does the Torah say it's prohibited to lend with interest? Now, here people make a big mistake, because on one hand, there's nothing wrong with lending with interest. On the contrary, the problem is lending without interest. That's a problem. That's problematic. Why? Because what difference does it make if I'm renting out my home or I'm renting out my money? When I rent out my money, that money is not in usage for myself. If I wouldn't have used my money to lend it out to someone, I could have invested it. I could have been a partner in business. I could have invested in the market. I would make money. I would earn money. Especially now, the market is on a tear. So what's wrong with lending with interest? On the contrary, if I lend someone $100 and a month later, they return $100, I lost money. Not only did I make any money, I lost money. It was a lost opportunity. You didn't ask for a donation. You asked for a loan. But if it's an interest-free loan, that's a donation. Because the money loses, firstly, there's inflation, money loses its value. But even not so, I lost that opportunity. In that time, I could have made $110. And because I lent it out and I took my money out of circulation, I lost money. So it makes no sense. Why shouldn't I lend with interest? Why is that any different than if I rent you my car, I rent you my space, my apartment? Of course I can make money. No one is expected you should do it for free. So why should I give you my money for free? And that's why a non-Jew, you're allowed to lend money with interest. According to Maimonides, it's actually a mitzvah. We'll discuss that later. Why is it a mitzvah? But surely I'm allowed to. The question is, why doesn't the Torah allow a Jew to lend money with interest? That's what doesn't make any sense. Why shouldn't I? Why does the Torah expect me to actually lose money? When a fellow Jew is asking for a loan, I'm basically taking my money out of circulation. And when I get back the principal, I lost money. I'm getting less than what I gave. When I gave him the $100, it carried with it a potential to earn more. And now I'm just getting back the principal. I'm poorer. I gave a donation to my fellow Jew. And that's the point. That when it comes to your fellow Jew, we are brothers, we are sisters. If your brother or sister needs a loan, you give him an interest-free loan. It's not a business transaction. It's a favor. Yes, I'm losing money. Yes, I'm losing that opportunity to make money for myself. But it's a brother, it's a sister. They need money, they need help. Everyone needs help once in a while. No matter how rich you are, there are times when you're strapped for cash. You need a loan. Even a wealthy person sometimes needs a loan. All his money is tied up. He needs a loan. So I'm doing him a favor. So yes, we are going beyond expectation. It's not something that makes any sense legally or rationally, but because we are love your fellow Jew like yourself. What do you mean love your fellow Jew like yourself? You have to love all humanity, all mankind. That's true. The non-Jew is my best friend, but my fellow Jew is my brother and my sister. So I go beyond the letter of the law. I go beyond, and I do him a favor. I treat him like I treat myself. I'm pressed for money. I need a loan. I need some cash to carry me over, so I'm ready to lend the money. And that's why when the rabbis saw, when it became forbidden for Jews to be craftsmen, the Jews were basically cut out from all professions in the Dark Ages. The only thing the Jew can do was to lend money, to create banks and lend money. So the rabbis understood the Torah never meant to put a Jew out of business. The whole idea of an interest-free loan is like a tzedakah. It's the ultimate tzedakah. They carry someone over. He needs some cash. He's strapped for cash. But it's not to put a Jew out of business. So in the olden days, when the Jews' primary livelihood was agricultural, so a loan was a part. If a Jew needs a loan, you give him a loan. So by lending him without interest, I'm not going to put the Jew out of business. But once the rabbi saw a Jew was cut out from all these professions, and the only thing that was available to him, the only way he can earn a living was through lending. The Torah never meant to put a Jew out of business, and therefore the rabbis came up with ways to figure out how you can lend with interest in a kosher way, in a legal way. Just like before Pesach, Torah says you have to get rid of your bread before Pesach. So for a few thousand years, it was a very simple thing. You know, in the shtetl, you didn't have bread all year round. You barely had any bread to eat. So it was very easy to get rid of all your bread. It wasn't a big deal. But once people started having storehouses of chametz, the Jews were the innkeepers, and they used to sell the beer, so to get rid of it for Pesach, it would ruin me, it would destroy me. That's not what the Torah intended. So the rabbis came up with all sort of ways. Before Pesach, you sell your chametz to a non-Jew. So you didn't violate the prohibition. After Pesach, you buy it back. It's not a subterfuge. The rabbis understood. That's not what the Torah meant. The Torah never meant to put a Jew out of business. And therefore they found a way of circumventing it. How? It's called a heter iska. Heter iska means instead of just giving the person a loan, we reframe it. Instead, it's not called a loan, it's called an investment. You become like a business partner with that Jew. So you become an investor. You become an investor, then you get the profits. You share the profits 50-50. And so when he pays back, in addition to paying back the principal, he has to pay back the profits. So that's a way of reframing it. It's not called a loan, it's called an investment. I'm an investor. I'm putting up the money, you're doing the work. That's a legitimate partnership. And therefore you're going to give me half of the profits. I'm going to get the profits, and therefore that's how you pay back. In addition to the principal, you pay back the interest as well. However, the idea that the Torah is telling us to lend without interest is still kept, because in every Jewish community they have a Gemilas Chesed loan society, an interest-free loan society, where Jews put their money. Wealthier Jews put more money. Some of them put it in for a year, some longer. They put $100,000 and say, here, lend it out. Whoever needs money, an interest-free loan, lend it out responsibly. A person has to have 2 guarantors. There has to be a real need. But every society, and people collect for this in the shul, Gemilas Chesed fund. So if people need some cash, they can borrow. So the idea, the mitzvah that the Torah intended, that Jews should be there for each other, and Jews should help each other, and should lend each other without interest, that's performed until this very day. But when the main business became lending and banking, it became impossible. Then they would put me out of business. If I can't loan with interest, it would put me out of business. So the rabbis came up with this idea of heter iska, that it's considered more like a partnership. Okay. So that explains the mitzvah. There's one way to understand the mitzvah. But there's also another element, another aspect. Because we find the Torah says that a person who lends with interest will not be resurrected. What's the connection? If I transgress this mitzvah of not lending with interest, I will not be resurrected. Why? What's the connection? Because on the other hand, there is something inherently immoral about the concept of interest. I'm not just talking about usury, shark loans, mafia loans. A person is desperate and you have to borrow money 25%, 36%, and if not, Uncle Tony is going to visit you. If you don't pay back, that's usury. But any interest, the idea of interest is something. It has a whiff of something very immoral. Why? Because we have no problem. We believe in capitalism. We have no problem in a person should earn money. A person should, honestly make money. You put in hard work, you deserve to get paid. You're productive, you deserve to get paid. If you're very productive, you deserve to get paid a lot. We don't begrudge anyone his wealth. We're not trying to rearrange the deck in the Titanic. There's wealth, those who are wealthy, those who have mazel, those who work hard, those who have ingenuity, productive, and they are providing a service to the community, and they deserve to make a profit. We don't begrudge them. We're not communists or socialists. However, that's true when a person is actually productive. When you're producing something, you're benefiting society, you're contributing, you're improving. You came up with a better mousetrap. You're providing a service that people are ready to pay for. Because you're making life easier, you're doing something, you're providing a service that people need, people want. The idea of interest, however, is it's like taking advantage of someone's disadvantageous position. In a way, it's like you're enslaving another person. You already made your money in the past, and now you're sitting on a pile of cash. So now I'm going to feed off someone else's labor. I'm going to play golf, and my money now is going to be making money for me. I'm a money lender. I don't have to do anything. I'm not doing anything productive. I am feeding off your hard work and your labor. You're desperate for cash. You need cash to stay afloat. You need cash to set up a business. So I am now going to profit from your disadvantage. While I'm retired. I can retire. I don't have to work anymore. I have enough money, and now my money could make money. My money, I'll lend it to you, and now all your work, you're working for me. While I'm enjoying myself and playing golf, my money is busy making money for me, and I no longer am contributing anything to society. So this idea of taking advantage of people in a way, of enslaving people, that you become, I'm going to now feed off your hard work and your hard labor. Well, I do nothing. All I did was I took advantage of your disadvantage, and you needed my money, and now my money is now, you are now working for me. So there's something, it has a whiff of something immoral. Because yes, you're entitled to make money, and you're entitled to make profit, and you're entitled to make a lot of money and a lot of profit. We have no problem with wealth and even mega wealth. But if that wealth and that mega wealth is because you're doing something today, you're providing a service today, you're improving life today, you are working today, then more strength to you. We're very happy that you should make money. You should, there's no reason you shouldn't make money, and we're happy to pay, and you should make a profit. But the idea that once upon a time you worked hard and you earned some money, and now,
can I interrupt?
yes, please.
So you made some money and you saved some money, and the other guy spent money and now he doesn't have money, but you do have money because you saved money. You worked hard, you saved money. You live below your means. You took a 1-bedroom apartment instead of a 3-bedroom apartment. You know what I mean? That's the reason you have the money.
You're smart. True. But fine. So if you take that money and you start another business, many entrepreneurs, they made money and then they go on. Now they create something new. They don't rest on the laurels. They take all their money and now they start a new company. And there are many serial entrepreneurs. They're good at starting companies. They don't have zitzfleisch. They don't have the patience to see things through. They started like all the startups in Israel. In a way, it's a shame. Israel does all these startups, these brilliant, ingenious concepts, and they sell it for pennies on the dollar, relatively speaking. And then it's bought off, and then it turns into a $20 billion company. They sold it for $100 million. Entrepreneur is very happy. He didn't have $10 when he started. Now he's a millionaire, multimillionaire. But then they go on to start another company, another idea. So the idea is just a concept, the idea that a person always has to be productive. A person always has to contribute. Every day of my life, I should be producing. I should be productive. What am I contributing to life? What am I contributing to society? How am I adding benefit to society? If I'm just sitting and lending money, and that's how I'm living through the interest, then my contribution to society ended. Now I'm just living off someone else's sweat and someone else's toil. So
Rabbi?
there's something. What?
So just to throw this in, what if you're lending to an institution that pays you interest, like a bank, in other words?
Oh, you're lending to the bank?
Or any interest-paying organization. A bond is basically you charging them interest.
Right.
Or any similar financial arrangement, but it's with an organization.
Right. Well, listen, you do have a concept of, that's why the rabbis there's a concept of heter iska. There's a concept of investing. You're like an angel investor. You have money, so now I'm investing. Now, but an investment also is a risk. It's not like I'm just sitting off my laurels, because you can lose everything and you can make everything. The people who invest, those who invested in Microsoft and Amazon when they first started, when there was $1 a stock, when the stock was worth $1, it was very risky. You don't know how many would-be Amazons are there. Thousands of companies who started out and flamed out. So you're really taking a risk. So that's active. That's taking an interest, investing, being a partner. You're taking a big risk. I can lose everything, or I can make everything. This could be the next Amazon. This could be the next, the next Bezos, or so. So that's taking an active. You're being a partner in a company. You buy a stock, you're basically becoming a partner in the company.
But stock is an understood risk. Usually when you're buying a bond, the rate of default is pretty low. When I lend money to a bank,
right,
I don't really think of it as a risk.
Right. Okay, listen, but in general, the idea of lending, here the Torah is speaking about lending individuals. The idea of lending, there's something that's inherently, it doesn't sit right. Hashem wants you to be productive every day of your life. Retirement is not a word in the Jewish dictionary. Hashem wants you to contribute, to produce, to be productive, not rest on your laurels. And that's why it says if a person lends with interest, you won't merit a resurrection. Why? What does that mean? Because when you do a mitzvah, when we do a mitzvah, Hashem is interactive. Hashem is doing the mitzvah together with us. It's not that Hashem in the past commanded us to do a mitzvah, and now mitzvahs are being done. No, Hashem is there together with us doing the mitzvah. We're doing the mitzvah, and Hashem is doing the mitzvah together with us. Hashem is participating. What does that mean? Because Hashem participates with us, therefore, the mitzvah, you do a mitzvah with a physical object. So now this physical object becomes holy, sacred, a godly object. So it's because of this is Hashem's participation. When we do the mitzvah, Hashem is doing the mitzvah together with us. And therefore, only Hashem has the ability to take something inert, something dead, something physical, material, and transform it into something alive, something sacred, something godly, something holy. So Hashem says, that's only true in a case when you're not lending with interest. If you are resting on your laurels, if you're living in the past, and you're just feeding off something that happened in the past, then if you're not participating present, if you're not in the present, if you're not in the moment and you're not present, then Hashem is not either present. So Hashem commanded us in the past, but He's not present together with us with a mitzvah. And therefore, the mitzvah remains dead. The mitzvah doesn't have that godly attribute that now this physical material object becomes sacred and holy. Just like you're living, God is interactive. Just like you're living in your past. So now that you're living in the past, you're lending with interest. So you're living off the interest. Hashem says, I'm also living in the past. I gave you a mitzvah, you're doing it. But I'm not present together with you. I'm not here with you. So the mitzvah, the object with which I do the mitzvah remains dead, inert. It's not resurrected. It can't be resurrected. It's not alive. So the idea, it's a way of life. The Torah is telling us it's a position in life. It's how you look at life, how you live life. If you understand that every day you're meant to produce. You're meant to earn, but earn by being productive, by participating, not by resting on your laurels and living off your past, and then feeding off someone else's sweat and toil. Participate. Be alive today. Make money today. And that you can use your money that you saved also. You're investing, you become an investor, you invest in something, become a partner, Could be a silent partner, but it's a
Rabbi,
real partnership. You're taking a risk. It's a real partnership. Go either way.
Rabbi,
Yes.
when that loan you make without interest doesn't come back to you, there's the risk.
That's a mitzvah. That's a mitzvah you did. You lend them without interest.
Don't I at least get 2 mitzvahs for that?
Well, all societies that have all shuls and synagogues and communities that have interest-free loan societies, they don't just lend you blindly. You have to bring 2 guarantors who are going to guarantee the loan. You make a loan, you do it wisely. If a person can pay back, don't call it a loan. Call it tzedakah.
You don't know when you give it that it's not coming back. That's the problem. It's always like in the Gemara. It's always a friend.
Always a friend. Well, you should ask for a guarantor. If you have any doubt, ask for a guarantor. It's interesting. In Jewish law, there's no chapter 11. There's no such concept. If you make a loan and you default on your loan, you and all your possessions are obligated, a mortgage, to pay back that loan. And even after your death from your estate, you can go after the loan. There's no concept of bankruptcy. You made a loan, it's a moral commitment. You have to pay it back. In 47th Street, in the Diamond District, there's no bankruptcy. Things are done on a handshake. Your word is your bond. And if you can't pay it back, you're not going to declare bankruptcy. You will pay back every last penny, however long it takes. There's an honor system. A loan is a very serious commitment on the part of both, on the part of the lender and on the part of the borrower. Just like the lender gave his money in his trust, the borrower is obligated. There's no excuses.
Rabbi?
Yes.
So if there's no bankruptcy and a guy owes everything to a creditor, how long will his family stay indebted? Does that carry through the family forever until the loan's paid off?
Well, his possessions, his estate. The children are not obligated to pay with their money. But his possessions, if he has real estate, if he has property, if he has his possessions, then his estate is mortgaged to pay back that loan. Only him. But is his inheritance, if the children inherit his estate, his possessions, his real estate value, that's mortgaged to pay the loan. They can't just say, well, he died, tough luck. I own this mansion and we inherited this property from him. No, that property is mortgaged to pay the loan. You can't shirk that responsibility. But it's not something not the children are responsible. But it's not theirs. It's the estate that they inherited from him. Then that is mortgaged to pay back the loan. So it's a serious commitment on both ends. And Hashem says when you lend someone, you're doing a mitzvah. It's a big mitzvah. It's the highest form of tzedakah, lending someone who needs a loan. Because when you lend someone who needs a loan, you're going to help him. He shouldn't become destitute. A person could collapse. His business is about to collapse. Or you need a loan to help him set him up in business. That's the greatest form of tzedakah. You give him a loan to help him stand on his own 2 feet. Or that he shouldn't collapse. Once a person collapses, it's very hard to pick him up. But to support him, make sure he doesn't collapse, that's much more doable. So that's why there's something about interest. It doesn't sit right. It's not our value system. There's a value system. We value hard work. We value profit. You're entitled to a profit. No one begrudges you your profit. We're not communists. You earned it. You deserved it. You worked hard. You're providing a service. People are happy to pay you and happy knowing that we're giving you a profit and you've earned it. But there's a value system that you're working today. You're producing today. Yes, what I produced yesterday was yesterday. Yesterday, I was a productive citizen. Yesterday, I added value to society. That was yesterday. What am I doing today? How am I adding value to society today?
Rabbi?
Where's my effort today?
Sorry, another question. If there's no concept of bankruptcy, is there a concept of a separation between a corporation and personal liability? In other words, if I have a small corporation and I, in effect, go bankrupt and I owe creditors,
in Jewish law.
Yeah.
You're asking if in Jewish law you can separate. I'm not sure. I'm not so sure that works in Jewish law. How you set that up in Jewish law, without personal liability. It's a very good question. It's a very good question that deserves looking into. So there's something about interest, the value, which offends our value system. Now, according to Maimonides, not only is it permissible to lend to a non-Jew, it's actually a mitzvah to lend with interest to a non-Jew. And what Maimonides is telling us is that there's a mitzvah to make money. If you have an opportunity to make money, there's a mitzvah. Because money is not random. Every Jew has a portion of this world that belongs to the Jew, to you. You and only you. That's why the Torah tells us a person should not be jealous of someone else's success. Because no Jew can touch a penny, can take away a penny that belongs to you. Because that portion of this world, the money that's meant for you, your neshama, your soul is the only one that can elevate this portion. No one else can deal with this. Therefore, if you have an opportunity to make money, if you have an opportunity to lend with interest to a non-Jew, because like we discussed earlier, from a purely transactional and business point of view, there's nothing wrong with lending with interest. What's the difference if I rent you my house? I'm renting you my money. I'm entitled. I'm renting you my money, and I'm that money is not working for me. While I'm renting it out to you, that money is not working for me, so I'm actually losing money. If I lend you $100 and then you return to me $100, just the principal, I lost money because I could have invested and I could have made a lot more money. So I'm renting out my money. There's no reason I should lose money. Then it's a handout. It's not a loan. You're asking for charity. You're asking me to lose money for you. So if I have an opportunity to make money, that's a signal from heaven, from above, that this money belongs to you. So you have a mitzvah, you have an obligation to go after this money. We don't look at money as dirty, as something negative. We hold our nose and we make money. We don't have this unhealthy relationship with money. Money is wonderful if you know what to do with it. As long as you're not imprisoned by it, as long as you're not enslaved by it. And how do we know that you're not addicted to money and you're not a slave of money? There's only one test. There's one acid test. What's that acid test? A person could delude himself, I'm not addicted. How do you know if a person is truly addicted or not? There's one test. Simply, could you walk away from it? A person who says, I'm not addicted to alcohol, but he can't walk away from it. I'm not addicted to junk food, but he can't walk away from it. Then he's delusional. Every week, every Jew on Shabbat walks away from money, walks away from business for 24 hours. Business money has no connection to me. I can have a $1 million deal. I'm sorry, it's Shabbos. It has nothing to do with me. The fact that a Jew can walk away from money every week, for real, that tells me that a Jew is not addicted to money. You're not enslaved by it. Then money is a beautiful thing. It's a sweet thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a powerful thing. You know what you can do with money? Mitzvahs you can do, the tzedakah you can give, the difference you can make, how you can change a person's life, help a person. It's incredible the things you can do with money. All the Jewish institutions were built with money and lots of money. Those people who took their wealth and translated it into sources of so much good deeds, that's incredible. So if you have an opportunity to make money, that's a signal from heaven. You have to make money. Be rich. If you have the opportunity to be wealthy, lend the money to the non-Jew with interest. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing immoral, there's nothing inherently immoral with lending with interest. On the contrary, it makes no sense not to lend with interest like we discussed at the beginning. So it means it's a signal that you have an opportunity to increase your wealth. That tells you that that wealth belongs to you. It has your name on it. You can't just ignore it. You can't just walk away from it. You have an obligation, a moral duty to become rich, to make that money and use that money properly. That's your portion of this world that Hashem allotted to you. It's connected to you and to you only. You can transform this money into something godly. Money is a very powerful force. There's more energy in Wall Street than any synagogue I've ever been to, except 770. There's an energy, there's a power. We don't look down at money. We don't look down at people who have money. On the contrary, Rabbi would respect wealthy people. We don't look down at the 1%. Rabbi respected them. Because if Hashem chose them to be wealthy, every one of us is like Hashem's ambassador. We are given a portion of this world that we interact with, the amount of people that we're going to interact with. So some have small embassies, like Luxembourg, but a wealthy person, Hashem has given tremendous amount of wealth, tremendous amount of influence. That means they're the ambassador to France. They got a huge country. Hashem trusted them. Hashem trusted them that He gave them the power and the ability to transform and to elevate a huge portion of this world and transform it into something godly. So if Hashem respects the wealthy person, and Hashem designated and chose this person for tremendous wealth and influence, so we respect that person for his potential. We don't look down at the 1%. We respect them. Respect them because Hashem chose them and designated them and gave them tremendous potential and trusted them. Because it's a big test. Money is a big test. As Fiddler on the Roof says, maybe we will be tested. But money is a big test. Even a bigger test than poverty. Poverty keeps you humble, keeps you real, keeps you grounded. Unfortunately, money has the ability to get to your head.
Rabbi,
Too many people. Yes.
Rabbi, can I say something?
Yes.
I agree wholeheartedly with what you said about the 1%. Fantastic. I mean, this is a country where you can the sky's the limit in wealth. But the point about the 1%, and I know the Jewish community is behind this 100%, not 1%, 100%. For them to pay their fair share. That's the point. Not to go for loopholes and taxes, pay the fair share. If you're going to be a super wealthy person, great, fantastic, but pay your fair share of taxes.
Who decides that?
I'm talking to the rabbi.
I'm talking to you. Who decides that?
The person who is
The politicians that you trust?
Well, I think what Jeff is saying, Reuven, I think what Jeff is saying is that, yes, the wealthy person has a responsibility to give tzedakah. And he should use his wisdom and his business acumen to choose wisely those tzedakahs that he feels that 90% is going to the charity and maybe 10% overhead. Not like some foundations, I'm not going to mention names. We all know that it turns out it's 90% overhead, and you're lucky if there's 10%. So, I don't think people feel so comfortable giving it to a bureaucrat who we know squanders and wastes and it just so. But the idea, so if a person is against big government, that doesn't mean he's not generous. A person is against big government because the government has a track record. Whatever they touch becomes bloated, inefficient, waste, squandered. So a person could be wise and say, listen, I'm very generous, but I'm going to give tzedakah. I'm going to use my business acumen to choose wisely to give tzedakah to those organizations that I feel are really using their money for the help. And they're doing it efficiently. They're doing it wisely. There's very little overhead. So that's a legitimate criticism. I don't think we have to get into the politics. So that means I'm a conservative, I'm a liberal. Conservative says I don't trust big government. I believe in small government, efficient government, versus the liberal that believes in a very big government. So I don't think that's a political discussion. That's not what we're discussing here. But from a Jewish point of view, a Jew definitely has the responsibility of giving tzedakah and giving generously. And the greater the wealth, the greater the responsibility you have to give tzedakah. So that no one is in dispute. And many of the 1%, the Moses Montefiores, the Jewish Moses Montefiores, and today our generation was blessed that today we probably have 100 Moses Montefiores. Then you had one Moses Montefiore. Today you have 100 Moses Montefiore. People who give generously in the tens of millions, in the hundreds of millions, not the billions. And they've made a difference, change. So that's a beautiful thing. That's the way it should be. So you have to respect wealth. Not out of obsequiousness that we pander to the wealthy, but from a genuine, godly, Jewish point of view. You respected, Hashem respected. Hashem blessed them, entrusted them with so much wealth and so much influence. And if they utilize it positively, they can change the whole world. Just in our community. One person, Peter Schwalbe, one person changed the whole Upper East Side. He wasn't the wealthiest Upper East Side, not by far. But what he did and how he used his money, he literally changed and touched the lives of tens of thousands of Jews in his community in the Upper East Side. How many wealthy people in the Upper East Side who are 100 times wealthier than him, who didn't lift a pinky, didn't do anything for their community? After 120 years, they're going to come to Shemayim. So what did you do for your neighborhood? What did you do to change and improve and enhance your community? Did you use the incredible wealth that Hashem gave you and blessed you to make a difference, to transform the world? So if Hashem entrusts someone, and Hashem has confidence that wealthy person will have the wisdom to acknowledge the gift that Hashem gave and to utilize it, then it's a tremendous thing. So as Fiddler says, may we all be, money is a curse, may we all be cursed, may we all be smitten. And we should all use that money to do interest-free loans for those who need and to give tzedakah generously. And we should always be productive every day of our life. And it's a brand new day. We don't retire. We relish that day. We tackle the day. We fully participate in our lives. We're fully participants. And then it's something that's happening today. My life is happening now. The money that I earn, I'm earning it now. And then Hashem reciprocates, and Hashem fully participates in our Yiddishkeit, in our mitzvah. And then our mitzvah come alive with Hashem's participation. We resurrect the dead, the inert, the material, physical object with which we do the mitzvah comes alive, becomes godly, transforms, and sacred, godly, eternal, and alive. And that's resurrection. And then when we do this mitzvah, we will also be redeemed. It says that Hashem took you out of Egypt. So this connected to the idea of redemption. And that's the whole Jewish value system, the whole Jewish way of life, of that it's dynamic. Hashem is dynamic. Hashem is real, actual, here, you, I, now, this moment. And Hashem should bless each and every one of us that with all the wealth and health and time to enjoy it, and to utilize it, and to be a source of blessing. If anyone has any comments, questions, thoughts, please unmute yourself and feel free to join in. Yes.
Hi.
Sergio.
Just my question is, what I understand the idea of money being a recognition, I guess, of some kind, and also the fact that it comes from Hashem, and that alone makes it unquestionable. But what if the money, as you said, it's used wisely? But what about when it's not used wisely, right? Okay, I mean, I don't have to go into names, but it occurs to me 3 names of Jewish people in the United States recently: Bernard Madoff, Jeff Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, just for example, right? Just nothing personal against any of them or whatever. But these are clear examples of money that was not used wisely, and there's a lot of money there. No judgment here. I just want to know what is it that
Sergio, I'm going to throw in George Soros also. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that the 3 that I mentioned, get like a gold medal. If you want to give a medal to Soros, give him silver or bronze. But quite frank, I don't think that whatever Soros did, even remotely comparable to a Jeff Epstein did. Quite frankly.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a good question, but the point is that if money is meant for you, if Hashem wants you to be rich, you do not have to steal, you do not have to lie, you do not have to cheat. You will get that money. If money is not meant for you, no matter how much you lie, cheat, or steal, a person doesn't get 1 cent, 1 penny more than it was decided in Rosh Hashanah, or how much Hashem decides that you're going to get. People think if I work 25 hours, and if I'm going to become wealthy. Well, you read every successful autobiography, there's always that element of luck, what people call luck. You were born to the CEO of the company, or you met the right person at the right time. We call it divine providence. If you have the mazel, if Hashem wants you to succeed, you will succeed. And if not, all the manipulation in the world won't earn you 1 penny more than is destined for you. So therefore, there's no point in trying to steal, manipulate, and cheat, and lie. On the contrary, if you would have earned it in the proper way, then your money is going to go for healthy things. Then you don't end up dying in jail or being killed in jail or humiliated. Then you have nachas from your money. You enjoy it. You do wonderful things with it. You give tzedakah with warm hands, not just leaving it in your will, but enjoying it and seeing the fruits of your labor and seeing what your money is contributing and how it's benefiting. If not, you're going to get the money. But you've destroyed it. You've destroyed yourself. And now it becomes a source of affliction. It becomes a source of negativity. So a person has to have the wisdom to realize That if I end up with this money, I don't have to lie, cheat, or steal to get it. I can do the right thing. Keep Shabbat, not work on Shabbat, even though it's not logical. It makes no sense. My competition is open on Shabbat. You remember the story with Halal. Halal for decades was bankrupt, was always in the red. And when Menachem Begin became prime minister, so he took in the religious parties as his partners, and he said on one condition: Halal, which represents Israel, has to stop flying on Shabbat. You can't desecrate Shabbat, that the Jewish airline is flying on Shabbat. And they howled, they screamed, they said, wait a minute, if we fly 7 days a week and we're bankrupt, imagine if we only fly 6 days a week. When our competition, TWA and the others, are flying 7 days a week, we'll surely be out of business. They howled, but Menachem Begin put his foot down, and Halal shut down on Shabbat. They would not fly on Shabbat. And you know what happened? Miracles of miracles, wonders of wonders. For the first time in Halal history, they became solvent. They were in the black. TWA no longer exists. Halal is still flying. So it doesn't even make sense. How could you close on Shabbat? How could you be honest in business? All my competition are ruthless. So you're telling me close on Shabbat, be honest in business, treat your employees properly, and I'm going to make a profit and thrive. But if you recognize that money comes from Hashem, and if I was destined to make money, then you'll close on Shabbat, you'll be honest, you'll treat the employees properly, you'll find time to go to shul, you'll find time to daven with a minyan, you'll find time to study Torah, and you'll use your money to give tzedakah, to do wonderful things with that money. Then your money is a blessing, and your life is blessed. Otherwise, the money becomes an albatross. The examples that you gave, what did the money do for them? It destroyed them. It ruined their lives. It wasn't a blessing, it was an albatross. So it's a big test. It is a big test. But if Hashem trusts that Jew with that test, that means Hashem has confidence. He gave that wealthy Jew tremendous spiritual strength that he has the ability to pass this test. It's a big, big test.
Maybe they didn't have the spiritual strength, and that's why they failed it, because they didn't have the,
potentially they did. They did. Well, we have a choice to live up to exercise our choice, our potential or not. Most people don't exercise their potential.
Right.
Hashem gives them potential. Otherwise, Hashem is not asking of a person something, doesn't demand anything that we cannot handle. That's a given. Hashem doesn't ask of us the impossible. So surely if he gave them that test, he surely gave them all the abilities they needed to withstand the test. Now maybe if they would have studied Torah, they would have been exposed to the right way of thinking and the right way of understanding things.
Right.
That's, yes, you need all the strength you need. You need all the Torah and the learning and the understanding and the internalizing. Then they maybe that helps us actualize all our potential. But if there's no wisdom and there's no understanding, then it becomes a curse.
Right. I think I always tell my kids when we're in the Hamptons and we drive down Dune Road and we look at all the houses, I go, they're not happy. I said, they don't have, I said, it's a curse sometimes. And they all joke, they all laugh at me. But the truth is that what I have seen, and I know a lot of very, very wealthy people, and what I have seen is that maybe on a certain level, they're okay, but I see the next generation, it is, you're given a very big responsibility when you do have the wealth and your partner is Hashem, but it's a very big responsibility to teach your children, because that next generation, there's so much out there, and these kids, they go crazy, a lot of these kids, from the wealth, and they're not so happy. And there's Jonathan. Jonathan,
What do you want, Mom?
Nothing. Nothing, Jonathan. Sorry about that, my dear son. But you know, it's very hard, and we live in a day and age where, you know, everybody wants to make money. Look, my son just graduated, you know, getting a business degree, and he's starting his job, and he says, I want to make money, you know. And I always say, remember, you have a partner with Hashem. Now, whether or not he listens to me, but I keep telling him, no, you have to start giving. And it's hard. And look, I'm not one of those very, very wealthy, but I've seen so much with those kids of the very, very wealthy, and it is a test from Hashem, I think, when you're given that gift of so much money.
You have the grandchildren to look forward to.
Right? If they can, yeah.
Don't waste your time with your kids.
Well, especially saying the children take it all for granted. The parents have to work for it. Many of them started out with nothing. They worked hard, so they have a certain appreciation. The kids grew up spoiled, and they just take it for granted. There are those wealthy parents who give their children a very normal upbringing. You know, they don't spoil them, and it's a responsibility on the parent to really raise their children. You know, one of the things about Steven Spielberg is that he raises children very normal, even though the father is such a celebrity, and you know, he's probably a billionaire by now. But he made a point of raising his children very normal. He didn't
right.
spoil them. He didn't, you know, a lot of these kids of these billionaires, celebrities, they're just not raised. You know, they're not raised properly, and
right.
it has a tremendously negative effect on them. But so again, that's also a responsibility of the parents to raise them properly, and it's a test. Listen, it's a very big test.
It's a test. It is. No, I do. And I think like somebody mentioned Weinstein and Epstein, they failed it miserably. They failed it. You know, Weinstein had it all, but you know what? He couldn't deal with it. It all went to his head. He forgot about Hashem. You know, I don't know. I'm not in his.
Many people who are poor, also fail miserably in their own life.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. You know,
we all have our tests. You know, we all have our own personal tests, and how are we doing in our own personal tests? It's very easy to point to others, their failures, but the question is, how are we doing in our personal life tests? We know how difficult it is. So, you know, we struggle. It's a struggle. How are we doing in our struggles? So it's you know, we can have a little empathy. You can't even imagine what kind of struggle they have. So how are we doing in our struggles? Our little struggles we struggle with. Imagine they have to struggle with this huge struggle, which we can't even relate to. Who's even tempted to steal $60 billion and to bankrupt Elie Wiesel and bankrupt all your family and bankrupt Jewish institutions? I mean, we can't even relate to such a struggle. Or Epstein's struggles, it's just insane. But how are we doing our own personal struggles? You know, so life is a struggle. Hashem, it's a test.
It's a test, and hopefully we will have mazel. You know, but we have to work. But I do like what you said, that we have to constantly be productive. You know, whether we go into retirement and collect Social Security, it's always important to keep giving and keep doing, and you know, never to stop. You know, so I agree with that Hashem wants us all to toil in, you know, in whatever fashion we have to, you know, continue to always work and be productive.
Exactly. And, you know, when we empathize our own struggles, and when we recognize our own struggles, we can empathize with the other struggles, other Jews' struggles, and we realize how difficult it is. It's not easy. That's what makes life so interesting. Anyway, I want to wish everyone a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos.
Yes, thank you.
Shabbos.
Shabbos. We'll see you.
Rabbi, if we want to come to shul, like in like 2 weeks, we have to sign up first, or?
Yeah. Every Shabbos you sign up. I think you go on the website and just sign up, and come. Yeah.
And what are you doing? Like they doing temperatures? Nothing like that, right?
No temperature. And we'll send out before Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. You know, we have very limited seating. We're gonna do 1 million downstairs, 1 million upstairs. So it'll be first come, first serve. You know, we're gonna have the seats, sell the seats for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and then we'll do an outdoor blowing, many outdoor blowings of the shofar. Those who are afraid to daven indoors, and Yom Kippur will have an extra yiskar after davening. Those who just want to come for the yiskar. So you know, we're gonna have to improvise. It's you know, it is what it is. So everyone have a wonderful Shabbos. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Good Shabbos. Thank you, Rabbi.
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. All the best.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure. You can also go. We have a website, a Tanya website, tanyaclass.com. It's also a podcast and YouTube. So if you want to learn Tanya or prayer, myprayerclass.com. Anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a good
I saw your wife's videos too. When I found these tonight, so I'm gonna go back and watch those too.
Okay.
Okay, good Shabbos to y'all, to your fam. Bye bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.